She signed the prenuptial agreement without knowing a clause would change everything. When he loses his memory, she faces a tempting choice where love and money collide. Will she choose loyalty or personal gain when everything has a price? Anna had always been proud of the life she had built, a successful woman in the competitive world of finance. She had worked tirelessly to reach the top, independent, confident, and self-sufficient. She had everything she needed, except someone to share it with. When she met Mark, she believed she had finally found the partner she had been waiting for. Mark was everything Anna had hoped for: charming, ambitious, and successful in his own right. A well-known investor with a polished demeanor, he was the kind of man people admired and trusted. Their connection was instant, and their relationship quickly grew deep and meaningful. Anna admired Mark's strength and vision, and for the first time, she felt truly seen and understood. She believed she had found her soulmate, the man she would build her future with. Then, during a quiet dinner at a high-end restaurant, Mark made an unexpected request. He asked her to sign a prenuptial agreement before they married. The proposition threw Anna off guard. She had always believed in the power of love to transcend any obstacles, but Mark explained it was simply a precaution to protect both their assets, particularly given their financial success. While Anna felt conflicted, Mark reassured her that it wasn't about trust, it was about mutual security. He insisted that the love they shared was unaffected by a legal formality. Anna hesitated, but ultimately agreed, trusting Mark's reasoning. She signed the document without thoroughly reviewing every clause, brushing off provision about protecting her assets if she had children. She believed that their bond was strong enough to withstand any challenges, never imagining that a simple legal agreement could change the course of her life. Months had passed since Anna and Mark got married, and their life seemed perfect. Anna had spent years building her career, and now, with Mark by her side, she felt like she was living a fairy tale. They frequently traveled, enjoyed lavish dinners, and talked about their future plans. Their love was as intense as it had been on the first day, and Anna had no doubts about her choice. However, slowly, a strange feeling began to creep into Anna's mind. Mark started becoming distant, sharing fewer of his feelings and thoughts with her. Whenever she tried to open up, he would smile and nod, but their communication no longer felt natural. Their relationship, once passionate, now seemed to lack the deep connection Anna had once felt. One evening, while Anna was tidying up Mark's office, she happened upon something unusual: a box containing personal documents, including copies of contracts and financial transaction papers she had never seen before. The most surprising of all was a copy of the prenuptial agreement, something she had never been made aware of. At that moment, Anna felt a rising sense of unease. She had signed that document without ever really reading through each clause. The growing feeling of discomfort intensified, and doubts about Mark's honesty began to take root in her mind. She quickly flipped through the pages, and her eyes stopped at one clause she had never noticed before. A small clause one Mark had mentioned when signing the agreement seemed irrelevant at the time, but now, as she read it again, everything felt different. A clause that she once thought would never matter suddenly made her heart race. If she had children within 2 years of their marriage, her assets would be significantly reduced. Anna couldn't believe what she was reading. A deep sense of anxiety flooded her chest. How could Mark have included such a clause? She hadn't been aware of it when signing the agreement, and now, everything seemed to be falling into place. As she held the agreement in her hands, Anna felt as though her world was crashing down. She couldn't understand why Mark would include such a clause, and why he had kept it from her. The feeling of betrayal, of being deceived, surged within her. Was everything she had trusted in their relationship just a beautiful facade? Why hadn't Mark been honest with her from the start? It felt like everything she had built was crumbling because of a prenuptial agreement she had signed without a second thought. Amidst the chaotic emotions swirling inside her, Anna decided she needed answers. She couldn't let this slide without confronting it. She had to face Mark and demand an explanation for the clause in the agreement that she had just discovered. She didn't know where to begin, but one thing was certain. The doubt that now consumed her could not be ignored any longer. The promises, the loving glances, all of it was now clouded with suspicion. Could Mark truly love her? Or was this all just a power play that he had been orchestrating from the start? Amidst the chaotic emotions swirling inside her, Anna decided she needed answers. She couldn't let this slide without confronting it. She had to face Mark and demand an explanation for the clause in the agreement that she had just discovered. She didn't know where to begin, but one thing was certain. The doubt that now consumed her could not be ignored any longer. The promises, the loving glances, all of it was now clouded with suspicion. Could Mark truly love her? Or was this all just a power play that he had been orchestrating from the start? The day Anna had been dreading arrived. She had spent hours, even days, mentally preparing herself for the confrontation. Every possible scenario played out in her mind. How would she approach Mark? What if he denied everything or tried to manipulate the situation? Would this conversation destroy their relationship? Or would it lead to the truth? She had to know, no matter the cost. The weight of the uncertainty had become too much to bear. It was a quiet Saturday morning when Anna decided it was time. Mark was at his desk, working on some financial documents. His back was turned, and for a moment, Anna considered waiting until later, perhaps when he was in a better mood. But the nagging feeling in her chest refused to let her wait any longer. With a deep breath, she walked over to him, her heart pounding in her ears. "Mark, we need to talk," Anna said, her voice steady but betraying the tension within. Mark looked up, surprised, but nodded. He motioned for her to sit down. "Mark, we need to talk," Anna said, her voice steady but betraying the tension within. Mark looked up, surprised, but nodded. He motioned for her to sit down. Anna hesitated for a moment, trying to find the right words. She had never imagined herself questioning the man she loved so deeply, but she knew now that there was no turning back. The secrets, the doubts, they were too overwhelming. Anna hesitated for a moment, trying to find the right words. She had never imagined herself questioning the man she loved so deeply, but she knew now that there was no turning back. The secrets, the doubts, they were too overwhelming. Mark's expression shifted slightly, his brows furrowing. He was no longer smiling, and the casual air around him began to evaporate. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice tinged with a hint of concern. Anna placed the prenuptial agreement on the desk, sliding it toward him. "This," she said, pointing to the clause about having children and the consequences for her assets. "I didn't see this before. Why didn't you tell me about this clause, Mark? Why didn't you explain it to me when we signed it?" For a moment, Mark didn't respond. His eyes darted over the paper, and Anna could see the shift in his demeanor as he processed what she was saying. His jaw tightened, and his usual calm, collected nature seemed to falter. He stopped, as if trying to find the right words. "Look, I didn't think it was something that needed to be explained. It's just a precaution, nothing more. It's about protecting both of us." Anna's heart began to race. She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Protecting both of us?" she repeated, her voice growing sharper. "Mark, it's not just about protection. You're controlling everything. You've put me in a position where if we have children, my assets are on the line. My future, our future, is being decided by a clause in a contract, not by our love." Mark's face darkened. "Anna, it's not like that," he said, his tone becoming defensive. "You're overreacting. This was meant to be a safety net, not a way to control you. We're building a life together. I thought you would understand that." But Anna couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't about a safety net. It was about control. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that Mark had set up a framework where her independence, her security, and even her dreams could be compromised. A financial safeguard, yes, but one that seemed designed to keep her in check. "You never told me this was part of the plan," Anna said, her voice trembling slightly with the weight of the realization. "I trusted you. I thought we were building something real, something based on honesty. But now, I feel like I've been kept in the dark. Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me the truth from the start?" You never told me this was part of the plan, Anna said, her voice trembling slightly with the weight of the realization. I trusted you. I thought we were building something real, something based on honesty. But now, I feel like I've been kept in the dark. Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me the truth from the start? Mark's eyes narrowed, and he exhaled sharply. For the first time since the conversation started, Anna saw a flicker of something darker in his eyes, a mixture of frustration and something else she couldn't quite place. He wasn't the man she thought she knew. I didn't want to hurt you, Anna, Mark said, his voice low. I didn't think it would come to this, but this is the reality. The world isn't always fair. We have to protect what we've built. If you can't understand that, maybe this isn't going to work. I didn't want to hurt you, Anna, Mark said, his voice low. I didn't think it would come to this, but this is the reality. The world isn't always fair. We have to protect what we've built. If you can't understand that, maybe this isn't going to work. Anna's mind raced. Her love for him was undeniable. But the feeling of being manipulated, the realization that she might have been nothing more than a pawn in a game she didn't know she was playing, left her breathless. She had to make a decision. Could she continue in a marriage where her financial security was at risk, where control was masked as protection, or was the truth too painful to ignore? The silence between them stretched on, and Anna felt a coldness settle in the pit of her stomach. She knew that whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. Anna's mind was racing, her thoughts tumbling over each other, and yet there was a chilling clarity settling in. Mark's words, once reassuring, now felt like a subtle manipulation. He had tried to frame the prenuptial agreement as an act of protection, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized how calculated it all seemed. Anna had always prided herself on being independent, on building a life where she was in control, yet here she was caught in a web of hidden clauses and veiled motives. Mark's attempt to justify the agreement as a simple precaution felt empty now. His dismissal of her concerns, his defensive tone, the way he quickly shifted to accuse her of overreacting, everything felt off. She was no longer speaking to the man she thought she knew. This wasn't just about protecting their assets. This was about control, manipulation, and a careful orchestration of power dynamics. The truth began to feel like a dagger lodged deep in her chest. Mark was watching her closely, waiting for her to speak, to react. But Anna couldn't bring herself to say anything at first. The weight of the conversation hung heavily in the air, the silence between them growing thicker with each passing second. She had always prided herself on her ability to trust, but now she was facing the harsh reality that the man she had married had played a dangerous game. Mark, she finally said, her voice trembling slightly, but still strong, I never imagined I'd be in this position, questioning everything we built together. You've made it clear that the prenuptial agreement wasn't just about protecting us. It was about protecting you. And I've allowed myself to be part of that plan, without ever questioning your motives. But I can't ignore this anymore. This isn't love. This is a contract, one where my choices are being dictated by your rules, not by mutual respect. For a moment, Mark remained silent, the words hanging in the air between them like a bitter cloud. His eyes narrowed, his jaw tightened, as if he was grappling with something he didn't want to face. But then, the tension broke as he took a step back. You're blowing this out of proportion, Anna, he said, his voice dropping to a calmer, almost patronizing tone. This was always about our future. You don't understand. I'm trying to build something that lasts. You think I jeopardize everything we have because of a piece of paper? Anna felt a wave of anger surge through her. How could he be so dismissive of her feelings? So dismissive of what she had just discovered. She was no longer the naive woman who believed everything he said, without question. The woman standing in front of him now was one who saw through the facade, who recognized a subtle manipulation hiding behind his reassuring words. Stop pretending like this is about our future, Mark. Anna shot back, her voice firm. This isn't about our future. It's about your control. You manipulated me into thinking this was just a formality, a small thing that I should just accept. But the truth is, you've been planning this all along, haven't you? From the moment you asked me to sign that agreement, you were already thinking about the power you could hold over me, over my future, over our children, and I bought it. I let you make decisions for both of us, all while I was convinced it was out of love. Mark's face turned red, his frustration now palpable. You don't understand what it's like to be in my shoes, Anna, he said through gritted teeth. I've built this life from the ground up. I've worked harder than anyone to get to where I am. You think I'm just doing this to control you? I'm doing it to protect us. I'm doing it because I care about you, about us. I didn't want to hurt you, but sometimes you have to make hard choices. You have to put your pride aside and understand that the world doesn't always play fair. Anna stood frozen, the weight of his words sinking in, but her anger and disbelief surged again. She could feel her hands shaking at her sides. The man she thought she knew, the man she had fallen in love with, was now standing in front of her, justifying everything he had done as if it were for her own good. She wanted to scream at him, to tell him how deeply he betrayed her, but she knew that words would never be enough to explain the depth of the hurt she felt. How could she ever trust him again? Mark, this isn't love. This is manipulation, Anna whispered, her voice breaking as the tears finally came. You didn't protect us. You built a fortress around yourself, and I've been your prisoner. I don't even recognize you anymore. I don't know who you are. The words hung in the air between them, and for the first time, Anna felt the full weight of their relationship crashing down on her. She had always believed that love could conquer all, that no challenge was too great for two people who truly care for one another. But now, the harsh reality was that love wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to heal the wounds he had inflicted. It wasn't enough to fix the betrayal that lay beneath the surface of their marriage. Mark didn't speak for a long time, and when he did, it was barely a whisper. I didn't want to lose you, Anna. I thought this was the only way to keep us safe. Anna shook her head. You lost me the moment you thought I was something to be controlled, Mark. You lost me when you decided my worth was tied to a contract, not to my heart. She turned away, the finality of her words echoing in the space between them. Mark stood there, watching her leave, the silence that followed louder than any argument they had ever had. Anna didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear. She would no longer be controlled by the man who claimed to love her. She had to find her own path now, one where her choices, her heart, and her future were truly hers to decide. Anna walked out of the room, feeling detached as if the world around her had suddenly become unfamiliar. She didn't know where she was going or what she was going to do, but the overwhelming sense of not being able to endure any longer made her just want to escape. She had thought that everything between her and Mark would be fine, that love could overcome all, but now, everything had collapsed in an instant. The betrayal, the manipulation, all the things she never imagined were now laid bare. But as she reached the door, another feeling unexpectedly emerged. A phone call. Anna looked at the screen, and her heart sank when she saw the caller's name, Mark. She wanted to hang up immediately, but some part of her couldn't do it. She answered the call. Anna, just hear me out. Mark's voice came through, gentle, a stark contrast to the anger and defensiveness from before. I know I've hurt you, but I can't lose you. I love you, and what I did, even though it was wrong, was because I was too scared of losing you. Anna stayed silent, the feeling of helplessness overwhelming her. She could sense the sincerity in his voice, but could it really be the truth? Had he truly changed, or was this just another act, another trick to regain control? I love you, Anna, Mark continued, but do you know something? You've been caught up in a game that you didn't even realize. You agreed to all the terms in the prenuptial agreement. You gave me this power. I only did what you allowed. We're all just pawns in a bigger game. Do you know that it wasn't me, but it was you who indirectly created this? Those words hit Anna like a shockwave, leaving her breathless. She didn't know how to respond, but one undeniable truth emerged. She had been dragged into a game she thought she had escaped. She was no longer the one controlling her life. At that moment, she realized that everything she thought was her choice was merely part of a game she hadn't even known she was playing. She felt a heart-wrenching pain, but also a sudden clarity. Anna couldn't continue living in the illusion that love was everything. She couldn't keep enduring the manipulation of a man she had once trusted. And right now, she knew the ending of this marriage wasn't just up to Mark. It was about her own awakening. She hung up the phone without saying another word. Standing there, she lifted her head and looked out at the world. Everything now seemed uncertain, but Anna was ready to face the future, even though it was a road full of obstacles and unpredictability. At this moment, she was no longer the woman Mark had created. She was herself, and from now on, she would choose her own path. Have you ever thought that love can hide manipulation? This story proves that when a relationship is no longer based on honesty, even the truest love can become a power game. Would you continue to love knowing you're being controlled? The lesson here is never sacrifice your self-worth for anyone, even when love is the only thing you have. Thank you for watching this story. If you found this video meaningful, don't hesitate to comment and share your thoughts. Hit the like button and subscribe so you won't miss the next inspiring and impactful videos. Let's create a strong community where every story is shared and heard